What does an In-N-Out closing down in Oakland, California have to do with the end times? Jesus Christ told us that there will be several warning signs or indicators to the generation living in the end time of where they were on God's timeline and how they needed to respond. In this video, we're going to look at that connection between this In-N-Out shutting down as well as other stores in the area, and a particular or specific indicator or sign that Jesus Christ warned us about. If this is the first time we're meeting, my name is Chris, and this is Foundation Bible Studies, where I seek to help connect you with your Creator and Jesus Christ, both informationally and experientially, so you can find the significance and purpose that you were created for. Now, this news report comes to us from NBC News, specifically the NBC in the Bay Area. And we're going to listen to their news report, and then we're going to see what Jesus Christ warned us about.
Tonight, for the first time in its 75-year history, fast food chain In-N-Out is shuttering one of its locations. And it's not because of sales, they say, but a troubling rise in crime. The iconic West Coast institution planning to close this Oakland location in March, which has been open since the early 2000s, citing rampant theft, break-ins, and property damage in the area. It sits just north of Oakland International Airport, which has seen excessive crime in the surrounding neighborhood. According to the tracking website Crime Mapping, which aggregates data from local police, 60 incidents of theft and armed robbery were reported in the area in the last week alone.
So, according to this, and just in this area where this particular In-N-Out is, there were 60 incidences of crime. Now, according to this video on YouTube, this was reported or published 5 days ago. Today is the 30th. So that means that it was published on the 25th. But let's continue on.
The location making travelers an easy target.
The first thing we do, like when you first walk in, we welcome you. First thing we ask you, are you a traveler? Do you have any luggage in the car? It's best to take it to your hotel first.
In-N-Out COO saying in a statement Sunday, this location remains a busy and profitable one for the company, but our top priority must be the safety and well-being of our customers and associates. We cannot ask them to visit or work in an unsafe environment.
Now, I am a licensed mental health care professional here in California, and working in the mental health field, depending on where you're working, you actually get what is kind of like hazardous duty pay for having to deal with hazardous environments. But they are not getting paid to have to deal with the situations that they're finding themselves in. But we'll continue to watch the video, listen to the news report, and see exactly. If you're watching on YouTube versus the audio version, you're going to see some things that you would have to deal with if you worked at this particular In-N-Out.
The fast food burger giant, not the only restaurant to move away because of crime concerns. A Subway shop permanently shutting down along 98th Avenue. And a nearby Raising Cane's taking safety precautions by closing their dining room, only taking drive-through orders. In August,
So a Raising Cane's had to shut down its dining room area in order to keep presumably both its employees safe as well as the customer. And that's very crazy. And I want to tell you about an incident I experienced personally, probably about 2 years ago, being up specifically in the Sacramento area, right down the street from California, the California State Capitol building.
Oakland business owners fed up with increased crime urged city leaders to take action.
Maybe give us a business credit or exemption from paying city tax and county taxes, and let us hire security, because our businesses have to thrive. You can't come in here and rob me every day for $1,000 and think that I'm going to stay open.
But some now challenge.
That's crazy. So, and this goes back to what many people are saying is happening in here in the United States of America, where small businesses, specifically, we've seen it with COVID, how they are being pushed out. Being pushed out of business, while these chain stores, Target, Walmart, different places, they're being allowed to stay open, and they have the capital, they have the finances to. But individuals like that, small businesses, franchises, they have to shut down.
The true reason major companies are choosing to shut down stores. Target, which cited crime as the reason for 9 store closures, now attracting skeptics who say the decision has more to do with financial performance than safety concerns. A CNBC investigation found that areas where stores were closed saw fewer reported crimes than other nearby locations. In response, a Target spokesperson telling CNBC that store-level incidents vary widely in severity, and police data won't show the full extent of what our teams experience on the ground.
Now, this is where I want to kind of share my experience because there was an incident that I experienced firsthand right in front of my eyes. Thankfully, it wasn't nothing overly crazy, but this goes back maybe to early 2022, somewhere in there. And I was going to a ministerial fellowship meeting on a Saturday, and I stopped at a Target in order to get a different shirt because the shirt I wore, it made me a lot hotter. I was not expecting the weather to be as warm as it was. And as I'm paying for this shirt to change from, or to change into, I should say, there was this individual at one of the little kiosks where you could get a soda or Gatorade. And all I hear behind me, because I'm at the self checkout, is, hey, and I don't remember the guy's name, but it was a store representative saying, like, hey, Tom, I told you this quite a few times already. Like, you can't just walk in here and take stuff. And so I looked behind me, and all of us that were at the self checkouts just were kind of like, wow, like we hear about this stuff, just people walking in, taking stuff and walking out. And there's nothing that we can do. Thankfully, the guy wasn't robbing the place in that regard. But California, the governor, its leadership, they're not holding people accountable for these crimes. And this is why people and stores are having to shut down. Yes, revenue, but you can't have revenue if you don't have product. And you can't have product if people are stealing it all.
But Oakland law enforcement still amping up police presence, increasing patrols and adding more surveillance cameras, which has led to a 40% decrease in auto burglaries and theft, the department says. Still, robberies are slightly up.
It's not enough. We need more, and we need sustained support in this part of our city.
Does it seem like there's
Former Oakland Police Chief LaRon Armstrong voicing his concerns to our Tom Yamas last September.
Is it a free-for-all when it comes to crime in Oakland?
I think it's a combination of lack of enforcement, not enough resources, and then not strong enough prosecution.
As the cost of doing business.
So that was the next police chief, and he said it's a mix of not enforcing the laws, not enough law enforcement, not enough programs or resources. And that's a big thing. If you were to correct your kid, if you don't correct your kid when they're wrong, then they're going to think I can get away with it. So then they're going to do it again and do it again. But once you let a child know this is not what we do, they might try it again or two, but depending on how you enforce that line or you fail to enforce it is going to determine their response. And that's basic psychology. I hold a bachelor's in psychology, licensed mental health care worker, and that's basic psychology. If you enable a behavior, it's going to be ingrained in that person. And then the person who actually draws a line they're going to have a bad response from the individual who was allowed to do these things freely. So you got to have some boundaries. You got to teach your kids that there are laws to be observed and they're there to keep people safe. They're there if you're a business owner to keep your business safe, various dynamics.
In Oakland forces more companies to consider drastic safety measures.
Dana Griffin joins us tonight from Los Angeles. Dana, that one image in your report really stands out to me. It's where they closed the dining room. It's a scene you usually see during natural disasters, and yet you're seeing it because of crime there in Oakland.
And so there's the news report. I'm going to link it down in the description below if you want to go back and listen to the whole thing. But we're going to look and see what Jesus Christ warned us about over 2,000 years ago, or just about 2,000 years ago, I should say. And we're going to see what he warned us about this scenario. This one incident or this set of incidences is a picture of a larger problem that governmental leaders are not addressing. They give us good lip service, but as that young lady said, that should be enough. We're not getting the backup we need. And so one of the places we look at is found in the Gospel of Matthew, Matthew's Gospel, his account of his experience as a disciple of Jesus Christ. And we go to the 24th chapter of his writing, and we're going to start at the first or third verse, I should say. And it says, the heading in this version says, Signs of the End Times. And it says, while he was sitting on the Mount of Olives, the disciples approached him privately and said, Tell us, when will these things happen, and what is the sign of your coming and of the end of the age? So older versions might say end of the world, but that's because just the way they older English worked versus maybe more updated English. And I wish there was a mix of the two. But the end of the age is the end of a time period. Every year, whenever it's your birthday, your age increases. So that means you go from being 6 to 7. So the age of 6 stops and the age of 7 begins. And so there's going to be an ending point to the way this world runs right now when Jesus Christ returns. And that's what that's the reference to. Verse 4 says, Jesus replied to them, Watch out that no one deceives you. For many will come in my name saying, I am the Messiah, and they will deceive many. There will be lots of false prophets, lots of false messiahs, lots of false Christians. And we're seeing that more and more. Don't let it dissuade you or discourage you. Just be aware of what's going on. You are going to hear of wars and rumors of wars. Our world has been in constant states of wars. See that you are not alarmed, because these things must take place, but the end is not yet. For nation will rise against nation, and that word technically could be translated ethnicity, because it's ethnos, which is where we get the word ethnicity. For ethnicity will rise up against ethnicity, or ethnos against ethnos, and kingdom against kingdom, or nation against nation. There will be famines, food shortages, earthquakes in various places. All these are the beginning of birth pains. And here's where I wanted to get down to. Verse 9. Then they will hand you over for persecution, and they will kill you. You will be hated by all nations because of my name. Then they will take offense, betray one another, and hate one another. Many false prophets will rise up and deceive many. Verse 12. Because lawlessness will multiply, the love of many will grow cold. But the one who endures to the end will be delivered. This good news of the kingdom will be proclaimed in all the world as a testimony to all the nations, and then the end will come. So when you have all these things playing out together, as Jesus said in verse 12, because lawlessness will multiply, the love of many will grow cold. But the one who endures to the end will be delivered. And so I want to ask you, what do you think about these things just in their own setting? Why do you think they're happening, taking place? But then what do you think about when Jesus Christ forewarns us about these things? If you got anything out of this video, I want to encourage you to like and subscribe to the channel so you know when I upload more videos. But I have a video where I get more in depth into the end time signs and indicators. And if you're on YouTube, I'm gonna point you right here. If not, if you're listening on the audio version, I'm going to link it down below, and I will see you over there. And until the next video, God bless you in Jesus' name.